inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher, unlock the fire in you, cause real women don't bitch, no, real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey there, guys. I am so excited about this segment and many more segments to come throughout the life of this podcast. I have conducted over 40 interviews prior to launching Real Women Don't Bitch, and I've spoken with several entrepreneurs who have given away their secrets, talked about how you properly brand yourself, mindset hacks, getting support, dealing with the change in family dynamics, all of that stuff that this show has been to talk about. I've had the privilege of interviewing several entrepreneurs. What I'm going to do is allow you to hear some of the most powerful segments that have come from some amazing summits that I have conducted. Enjoy and listen to the wisdom that is going to come from this speaker. If you're an entrepreneur and you're tuning into this segment, be prepared to get your mind right. She'll tell you in a heartbeat, and I hope she reiterates it again in this interview, that success is 90% psychological, okay? It's about your mindset. It's not about the techniques and the tactics. And so she is going to talk to you about this because this is her expertise. You don't need another system. You don't need another opt-in. We got to get through what's going on inside of your head in order to get you to the next level. So I'm telling you now, pay attention because she's very raw. She's very real and authentic. She has a PhD, yet she still deals with the intuitive side of business. And this is a war that many of you may face, really trying to find your identity with being an entrepreneur, being educated, but then also having these pullings that are coming to you that don't necessarily line up with logic. So I want to stop and give her the floor. Please let them know who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much, August. I'm so delighted to be here with you.
Thank you.
And you're right. It was like instant chemistry when you and I met.
It really was.
So my name is Dr. Elena Estanol, and I am a high-performance psychologist and an intuitive prosperity business mentor. And I basically help purpose-based entrepreneurs to defy the ordinary and become extraordinary.
Yes.
To really, take courageous action in pursuit of their dreams and to really bring out their divine gifts into the world and express them through profitable and transformational businesses.
Absolutely. So here it is. We already kind of had like this pre-talk before we did this segment. And it was on fire. And I'm like, dang it, I wish I was recording this, but it was so casual. I didn't want to, violate our privacy. So let's just go ahead wherever you are in your mind and your spirit and where you need to go. I already told them what you're going to talk to them about. So where do you want to start this conversation?
Well, we can start anywhere you'd like, really,
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and start with this whole concept of it's 90% psychological. You mentioned to me that a lot of people, even when you train athletes, they're trying to find the right techniques, the right tactics, and that when you've done all of that and it's still not working, it's something else. So let's talk about that something else. Expand on that for me.
Sure. And maybe I'll give a little background and why I say that that success is 90% psychological and only 10% technical. So there is a technical component that it's important, and clearly, obviously, we'll talk about that. Maybe you've talked about that or have other people that have talked more about that. And I'm not saying that learning the right techniques and strategies is not important yet. Why I say that success is 90% psychological is not just through my own experience, but because I've been working as a high performance psychologist for the last 16 years. And I have seen basically, really, really high achieving athletes, really high achieving performers, CEOs, entrepreneurs. And what's interesting is that a lot of times people come to me and say, okay, so I followed this person and I did everything that they told me and I followed all the steps and it's not working. And then I paid this other person and I did all the stuff and, followed all the steps and I'm doing all these things and that's not working. And I don't know what's wrong with me. Like there's something wrong with me because, or their system doesn't work. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you probably hear this a lot, and so when I hear that, I'm like, okay, so then the problem is not the tactics. The problem is how they are showing up, right? It's the problem is between their ears, right? It is some of the limiting beliefs. We don't realize that you asked me a really good question. Maybe we'll get to that a little bit later, in our pre-talk, but you said something about like, what are the things that were instilled into you?
Yes.
Right? And I think that that's a great question because all of us are programmed, right? We are programmed by our parents. We're programmed by society. We're programmed by the past experiences that we've had and the stories that we make up about those things.
Yes.
And they all become basically the driving forces behind everything that we do.
Yes.
And it's sort of like this silent driver, right? That is calling all the shots. And we think that we're going somewhere, but we actually are going somewhere else. Because there's a limiting belief that it's driving that. Yes. And until we recognize those and, if they're not serving us, then we need to go and pluck them out and change them and rewire them so that we're all like going in the right direction together, and I think that most people don't recognize that that's part of what's creating their results, right? It's what's underneath.
Yes. And so let me just add something to that. Everybody that's listening, I'm always looking for those things that are probably subtle to you, but they should be major. When you're listening to the conversation, pulling out those things that ought to hit a nerve, because some of you that are listening to this segment, you aren't a CEO. You don't have a high degree. Maybe you're a person who decided to leave school and you just started your journey, because I have a lot of millennials, or even you're an older person who decided to do that. You're sick and tired of the humdrum of corporate America. And as you may also criticize yourself because you're like, I know that it's got to be something wrong with me, because I'm not able to do the processes right. And that was like a core thing that just rung in my ears. There's something wrong with me. But listen to what she's saying. This is an issue that's across the board. If CEOs are having this, if athletes are having this same issue, then let's calm down. It's not as bad as you think. Let's not be our own worst critics and dig deeper into understanding that you have been programmed. No matter how much you want to, admit it, it's based on the things you've seen. I used another example on another video, just in case somebody hasn't watched it, where I talked about like with kids, like with parents.
Yeah.
If you have one kid that's like, yay, and you have another kid that's just kind of like, yes. And if the parent is more outgoing, they may not realize it, but they may be critical of the child that's more like, why can't you be more outgoing like your sister? And a lot of parents, they don't know that they're trying to force the child to be another way. Or it could go the opposite, like, oh my God, why can't you just calm down and be more quiet? And so you may find these adults, here it is, they've got to come out, they've got these bold ideas for a business, but they've been suppressing their boldness. And they're like, no, well, I'm really an introvert. And when a coach like you or me are telling them, no, you got to get out there, you got to give your message. If we don't dig deep to find out that has what's been ingrained in them, they're fighting a war and they don't understand that they're not being authentic. A lot of you, when we talk about authenticity, we don't mean that you're deliberately trying to be fake. We just mean that you haven't went through the process of self-discovery. I mean, that's literally, those are all the nuggets that I got immediately from everything that you said. Yes, we've been programmed because of our life experiences, because of the stories we've been told. But if you are not, quote unquote, the CEO, that still doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. That parallel should have shown you that regardless of where you are, educationally, job-wise, or anything, this is a commonality. If you're listening, you've opted in for all of the freebies. You went beyond the freebies and paid for the group coaching. You went beyond the group coaching and, you said, I'm going to even work with a coach who maybe doesn't specialize in this, who's giving you all of the strategy in the world, taught you how to do ads. You're a master copywriter, all of these things, but you're still not connecting and experiencing that profitability. Let's let her keep on going because everything is inside of you. We got to get it out of you.
Yeah. And you said something actually, August, that I really want to touch upon because I think that this is a huge myth that really gets in the way for all of us, regardless of who we are. And for some reason, we have been socialized to believe that skills and strategies are learned, right? Like, so we can learn how to do particular tactics in business, we can learn how to do a sport, blah, blah, blah. But we think that mindset and who we are as human beings, our energetic, our charisma, our power, right? That those are things that we either have or we don't. And so I hear a lot of people saying like, well, I'm not like that, or well, I don't have that, and I think that that's like a huge myth of our generation, of how we've been brought up. It's like, well, you either have it or you don't. And that's like total BS. Mindset is just like a muscle,
Yes.
If you go to the gym once and then never go back again, and then you're like, well, going to the gym doesn't work. Most people are like, well, that's silly, like it doesn't work because you haven't gone back, right? Like, like 3 or 4 times a week, every week, and keep going for the thing to work, right?
Yes.
But somehow we think that mindset is just a thing that you just sort of like, you just read a little blog or maybe you read a book and then, and then you either need to like get it and have it and keep it or not. This idea that that we either have it or not is total BS, and it's something that we need to constantly be working on. Brian Whitten has a phrase that I really, really love. And he says, the taller the tree, the deeper the roots.
Mm-hmm.
The taller the tree, the deeper the roots. And I love this phrase because in some ways, if we are out there to really live our purpose and to express who we are and share our message, we're going to have to continually be expanding, right? It's not like you're just going to be a tree and then you're like, okay, well, like I grew to about like 3 feet and I think that's okay. Like, I think that's a good enough tree, like you're like, I mean, it doesn't work that way, right? Like you're like,
no,
how do I keep expanding? How do I keep sharing more? How do I keep reaching more people? How do I keep having a bigger impact? Right? And in order to keep having a bigger impact, like you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I already did that. Like I read that one book once and I'm totally set. Like I'm good. Right. Like, so that's like a little root like this. And then you're wanting to like have this huge oak tree,
Come
it's like,
on now.
You need to keep going and you need to keep doing all this training. So, I mean, in fact, as you know, I have a PhD. I went to school for 17 years. So I was in higher education for 17 years. And people are like, what? And I'm like, no, it didn't take me 17 years to get a PhD. I just have 4 different degrees. And I am still doing all of this personal development work, and they're like, why are you doing all this if you have, I'm like, because I believe in practicing what I preach, and I do not ever want to ask my clients to do something that I'm willing to do. Right? And so this needs to be like this constant thing, and people that are successful, and I'm going to use athletes as an example and Olympic athletes as an example, because I think that they're probably the group of people that have been the most studied. When as athletes are moving, you know, from like pre-professional to elite athletes to like Olympic hopefuls to like Olympians, they don't cut down their coaches. You know, they don't say like, oh, I got it, thank you, I'm just going to go. Right? They actually start up leveling their coaches. They get more coaches, they get more mentors, they start training with other people, which I think it's kind of equal to joining a mastermind, right? Like they surround themselves by other people that are doing excellent work. They are hiring and up leveling to more coaching and more support, because they know that if they want to get to that next level, they're going to need more support. And they are probably the only group of people that seem to have understood that. And then the rest of the world, it's kind of like, oh no, like I have it, you know, like I don't really need a coach. Like I'm good. You know, I should figure it out on my own. And then there's something really wrong because I haven't figured it out on my own.
Yes.
And I just don't get it.
I want to say that, oh God, I got to keep up with everything that you put out there. Another book that's really good is John C. Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And he expounds on that heavily, about the myth that, you know, a leader is born. And he talks about, you know, the strengths and weaknesses in people, how you grow in some areas and how you know, find people to, you know, complement you in areas that you don't. And so number one, yes, very profound. Number two, no, you guys, you cannot, you know, another person I know says you can't do 2 days of work and look for 30 days worth of financial results. It's one of those things with building your business. You have to continuously put in the work. And I love how you gave the quote about the tree. And yes, I've heard that one before. You know, the taller the tree, the deeper the roots. You guys, you know, personal development, yes, it is an ongoing thing. And as you're growing and you're going in your business, that muscle is going to continue to be stretched, especially for the people that are listening that are coaches. Everybody is not a coach, but I know that just when I thought I had it all together, and I had all of these wonderful ideal clients, I got that one client that it was like, are you serious? And I just wanted to fire them. But because the contract was there, they were doing the work, and there was something that wasn't clicking. When I wanted to be like, oh God, this is not my ideal client, it's like, no, yes, it is. You know, my client was the pressure to evolve me to another level as a coach. And it's like, pay attention. Because this is another system or another program that you need to implement, because we're constantly up leveling. So even as coaches, you guys give us more experience when we have the friction. It reminds me of the statement that says iron sharpens iron. It's the personal development journey. It is continuous. Life is continuous. Life is constantly changing. And so if life is constantly, just with the technological evolution, you have to keep your mind in a place to be able to go. I tell people all the time, you're either going to evolve to technology or you're going to get ran over. And that's with life, period. So as things are changing, you've got to keep your head in the game in order to get there. And I also think that it's funny that you brought up athletes, right? Because I've used athletes before. I brought up a controversial statement, and I promise not to steal your segment. But you know, this is what happens to us every time we talk.
Totally.
I remember I used to always say, you know, this is when I was younger, talking about those beliefs. Athletes get paid too much money. You know, teachers, you know, they educate the world and they don't get paid enough. And when I started building my business, and I had to understand the grit and the grind, and I had to start investing in coaches, athletes were one of the first things that came to mind for me. I said, you know what? It's so easy to go get an education and to go get a job, regardless of how impacting it is. I'm not knocking teachers. God bless them. But you still have put yourself into a ready-made position.
Totally.
There was somebody else has done all of the legwork, but athletes literally say that I will not succumb to the pressure. As a matter of fact, I will allow pressure to be put upon me in order for me to become great, because that Olympian did not decide to start training 3 years before the Olympics. As a matter of fact,
hell no.
First of all, it's 4 years before it happens. It's one of those things where it was a lifelong progress and progression. And so the one who's willing to allow themselves to surrender to the most amount of pressure, like the pressure of, of gold being refined by fire, then that's the one who comes out the shiniest and worth the most, So I love the fact that you brought that up. But yeah. Man, I love you. Okay,
and I just have to say this to our listeners, that you and I, you said this is what happens when we get together. Like, we did not plan what we were going to talk about.
No.
I was like, I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to get together, and I'm sure that we're going to just be fun.
I'm like, I've interviewed so many people, and I have so many emails. I don't even remember if we decided what the segment was going to be about. I just know that you know your stuff. Get out here and do your thing, and hey, so go with it. But yeah, so mindset, in the middle of all of this, I mean, this is like having an opportunity, you guys that are listening, to sit at the table with two successful entrepreneurs and have the opportunity to listen to any and everything that we're saying. This is what this is really like, being privy to real hardcore conversations. You know what we're thinking.
Totally.
How we're feeling. When you come to us and you're whining or crying or you're celebrating, these are the kind of things that we're thinking. And this is the stuff that you need to know is real. We're not just, yes, and because I thought about it, it came.
No. I'm going
to let you take this.
The fire.
Yes,
we've been through the fire.
We've been through the fire, been singed. That's why half of my hair is gone. I'm just playing.
Well, okay, so there's a couple of things that I need to say. First, I wanted to give them the name of the book. It's called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And she really goes deep into kind of talking a little bit about this idea of like fixed and growth mindset that I was kind of talking about. And I'll just share this little piece. Like, one of the things that drew me to this field, there's two things. One was when I was 12, my mom gave me the book Anne Frank's diary, because she thought that as a 12-year-old, I might like reading the writings of another 12-year-old. The thing that she didn't really thought about was that the thing that I really latched onto was the fact that she was being persecuted, and that, eventually she died in a concentration camp. And what this created in me was this obsession with the Holocaust. And I started reading pretty much every single book that I could get my hands on Holocaust survivors. And I became obsessed with trying to understand what made Holocaust survivors live. I started thinking, like, would I live? Like, would I have what it took to live? And so from an early age, I began to try to understand what made those people live and what made the people that died die. And if we figured it out, could then we teach it to others, right? So if it's not a thing that it's inherent, right, could we figure out what that was and then teach it to others?
Yes.
Right? I did not know, and I didn't understand at that time. The second thing that got me into high performance was that I was a ballerina. And so I was on stage and performing all the time. And I had wicked nerves. I talk about rehearsal or practice athletes and performance competition athletes, and I was definitely a practice athlete. I was not the one that liked to be on the spotlight. I am naturally introverted. So I struggled so much with anxiety and performance anxiety. And so in some ways, we end up teaching the thing that we struggle with the most. Right. And so that's kind of what brought me here, and why I wanted to kind of give that resource, because I think that a lot of times we think, oh, well, I've had lots of people tell me like, oh, well, you're like super resilient and really optimistic. And I'm like, but that's not how I always was. And people are like kind of blown away. Like, how could you not? I'm like,
yes.
Well, now it's very much integrated into the fiber of who I am. And that's just who I am now. But it wasn't always there. And I just kind of want to share that, because I think that a lot of times people like see us and they think, oh, well, like they've got their shit together. Everything's always right. Like kind of what you were saying. And that's not true. Like, you know, so one of the things that I was saying is like, we've gone through the fire.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And, I say that knowledge comes with study and wisdom comes with experience.
Yes.
And so if we want wisdom, then we need to welcome experience, and not just good experience.
Yeah.
All experience, right? And in some ways we actually become wiser, we learn more when we are actually challenged, when we are stretched, and whether it's a stretch that we are choosing, right? Like, so we're like saying, okay, I'm gonna go for this challenge and I'm gonna like stretch myself, right? Which is, that's kind of a big thing nowadays. But there's also like life, positive thinking, because positive thinking alone, it's not gonna do shit.
Nope.
You know, and I am a huge mindset person. And even that, I'm saying positive thinking is not going to do shit, because it is not just the thought. It needs to be the embodiment.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love how you phrase that.
Right. So it's not just here. Let me think. And I'm somebody has struggled with being over analytical and too cerebral, and kind of just being here and not here.
I'm mathematical. I'm analytical by nature.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
I would say that a lot of entrepreneurs are this way. And so we try to solve problems, and we just here. And then it's like 1 and 2 and 3 a.m. and this is going, right? And the reality is that this thing is not the thing that's going to be solving all of this stuff. It's a super important thing, but we need to be fully embodied. So if you're like, you know, saying like, okay, like I'm a magical manifester, or I'm a whatever it is, you know, like I am going to be making $1 million if I'm whatever it is that you're focused on. I'm getting, you know, 10 new clients this month. You can say all you want. If you don't believe it, then good luck. And that's kind of the stuff about alignment and lack of authenticity that I think that you were alluding to.
Yes.
Right? That it's like, unless you believe it, right, and you embody it, and you are it, and you are showing up in that energy, then everybody else is going to be able to notice and pick up on the fact that whatever, like, even if they don't know what it is, they'll be like, something's off. Like, I'm not quite trusting it. I'm not quite believing it. So if you're doing all of the tactics and then you're not embodying and being who you need to be, right? So in some ways it's like, we're all leaders, right? We are all, whether it's just you're leading your household and your partner and your kids, or your classroom, or all of your clients and your tribe, we're all leaders, right? And in order to be a leader, you need to be able to inspire people.
Yes.
Follow you. You need to inspire people, and inspiration. So I love inspiration because to me, the Latin means in spirit.
Yes.
Right. So it means that you are embodied, an embodied spirit, and you are in full alignment with who you are and what you are teaching, and you're showing up in that way.
It was a pleasure to share this segment with you. I know there were plenty of nuggets that you walked away with to strengthen you as a business owner. If you would like to get access to the additional 35 videos with the full interview, along with a great workbook to help you refine and fine-tune and tweak your business, head on over to the website and find out how you can get the rest of the audios for the Real Talk for Business Mastery Summit interviews. Until the next segment, you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in